It's a universal DM experience.
I'm off work tomorrow, baby. Keep me up all night.
There's a lot of sessions that are just sexy goblin in a hula skirt.
I played Goofy in a Kingdom Hearts parody musical. We make it fit where we can.
Did Vera throw the dildo at the dragon, or was that her flaccid flail? He was just like, how fresh is the poop?
You are a guest star main NPC.
And with a lot of attention to detail.
I know a guy.
All right, well, hello and welcome everybody to our fourth or fifth DM Q&A with entirely new faces. I'm Fargrim the Barbarian, co-owner of Dark Raven Voyages. With me tonight is one of my Voyagers, Neuro, over there. Give a nice little wave. There you go. With me tonight we have newer faces. Teacup right there is in my campaign along with Neuro. In Quillen's Faded Few, we stream Mondays or Tuesdays, Wednesdays and Thursdays. Super excited about that. And so tonight we have, like I said, newer faces. Starting up above us, we'll start with Parasite.
Pyrazire is fine.
Dude, I'm still getting used to your name. It is very tricky.
Paraplegic, it's fine. Call me whatever you like, just don't call me late for dinner. I'm one of those. Asgeir Pyrazire, host of Scald's Hearth. I don't know what all you want me to say, but that's who I is. One of the founders and people who run the Art and Apocrypha community, along with Logicalyew.
Do you want to give out like when you're streaming D&D and whatnot?
Oh yeah, I wasn't sure that was what I was supposed to do. I do D&D every Wednesday. At this point, we have a campaign that should be starting later this year on Saturdays as well, bi-weekly, alternating with Logical Saturday stream. But for right now, we're just doing Wednesdays. One Wednesday is one campaign, the other Wednesday is the other. One of those starts at around 6 p.m. Central every time, and the other one starts closer to 7:30, depending on how quickly Logical can get home from work and get the dog walked. And no, that's not a euphemism. He has a dog.
She'll probably be walking around.
Nice. Yeah, I popped in on one of your streams recently, and honestly, it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I mean, last night's was crazy. We actually played Never Have I Ever in character. One of the weirder things that I've ever done in D&D, but it was a blast.
All right, are we just going in order? Because I think
we'll go in order.
Sounds good.
So state your
Then
name.
shouldn't D10 have gone first?
Our orders are probably all different. So,
everybody's orders are different. So,
yeah, so Fargrim, you tell who. Or Neuro.
All right.
Okay, how about Dragon Teacup? You can go ahead and go next, because on Fargrim stream, you are right next to Asgeir.
Bomb diggity. Yeah. Nice to meet you, everybody. My name's Dragon Teacup, commonly Teacup. Official name Christian Tetro. Lies. That's a stage name. I am the dumpy master of the dump stats. We've been going for about a year now. We do a campaign called Valboro that we stream the first Wednesday of every month. And then I have another campaign I'm doing that just started that goes on the second Wednesday of every month called Oops Only. I also have another campaign called Daphlina. We make it fit where we can. It's almost at its finale. It's got maybe one or two left. And then I get to be a player for Fargrim every Thursday night. So lots of D&D. I also run one-shots. I usually do about one a month on my channel. Again, fitting it where I can. So lots of D&D on my end.
DTE, that would be you next.
Hi there, I'm D10 of Dragon Tongue Entertainment. I also go by Joe in my real life. We stream D&D Mondays at 9:30 and Fridays at 10 p.m. all times Eastern. Monday group is a Spelljammer group that has a lot of Feywild crossover. Sandboxy, homebrew, a lot of fun, great players. Friday night is the Shattered Obelisk, where we have twisted the story enough to get all of our players' backstory in, so even if somebody's seen it before, there's a lot that is still to be seen. Tuesdays, we have a D&D discussion group around 10, which we're going to be putting aside for the near future to start a Daggerheart campaign.
Ooh, that's exciting. I've been wanting to learn Daggerheart.
It looks really
I just ordered my
interesting.
box set.
DT, what time do you stream in time zone?
Mondays, we start at 9:30. We go till midnight. Tuesdays, 10 p.m. until midnight. And Fridays, 10 to either midnight or 12:30. Maybe even to 1 if we're in a good flow.
Okay. And Logical, it's your turn.
Hello guys, I'm Logicalyew, or Cohen, or Logical. A lot of people just call me Logical. I run a Saturday game every other Saturday, as Azzy was saying. Asgeir is one of my players in. So I do that every other Saturday. I'm a player in his game on Wednesdays, every other Wednesday, and every other Tuesday, hopefully starting back up soon, I run a Cyberpunk Red game.
Don't sell
all of
yourself
those-
short. You're also the quest giver in the opposing Wednesday game. You
This
are
is true.
a guest star main NPC.
This is true. And then in the near future, I might be doing some one-shots that I might stream. But, all of those streams normally start at around 6 on the weekends and 7:30 during the week, Central Time. So that's what I'm up to.
Righty. Fargrim, did you introduce yourself? Brain is dying at the moment.
You're fine. Fargrim the Barbarian. I'm co-owner of Dark Raven Voyages. We try to do events at least once a month, but during the summertime, we have full of events. Next month, we have a DM Q&A and a Critical Queens week. Next DM Q&A, we have Solid 10. DM John from Solid 10 D&D, GM Eric from GM Eric, the Dirty Rollers, and Howled RPG. Super excited about that. I stream my D&D MMO Mondays and Wednesdays, 7:30 to about 10:30. Thursdays 9:30 to about 1 sometimes, but mostly midnight. And yeah, let's let DM Q&A number 4 or 5. Is it 4? Miriam?
You're asking me to keep count?
We'll just say it's 4.
I think it's 4. I don't think we're up to 5 yet.
No, I'm pretty sure it's 4. Hell yeah. Let's go.
Alrighty, so we're gonna get this going. And in the style of D&D, we are doing a D6 roll to find out who goes. We don't have 6 people to question. I'm not answering questions, so we're going to pretend 6 does not exist. And first one to go will be Asgeir. You're going to be first one to go. And the first question is, what streaming software do you... I got lost. What streaming software do you use and why?
Okay, give me a second. Let me find that in the slides here. Do you know where that was on that list? Because I have them in order.
First question.
First question? Oh, okay. Which VTT you use? Or which streaming software? Okay.
Streaming.
It's streaming. VTT is the next one.
Oh, I'm missing one. Okay, well, my bad. As far as what streaming software I use Streamlabs OBS. I don't have a particular reason I use Streamlabs OBS. I was using regular OBS, and then Streamlabs did some things better. And at this point, I'm so entrenched in slobs that it would take a lot to shift me out of it, because I just have 8 billion layouts that are all hyper customized, and so that's what I run.
Alrighty. And the next one is going to be DTE.
I use OBS. When you're starting to set things up and you're looking up things, OBS is the first thing that jumps up. And it's relatively easy to set up. I have all of my scenes. I have it set to stream consoles if I wanted to. It flowed easy, and once you're into something, it's easy not to switch out.
Okay. Next is going to be Fargrim. What streaming software do you use and why?
Streamlabs, because it's simple. Although I don't utilize it to its maximum capacity. I can admit to that. But, yeah. I like it. It's pretty simple, less overwhelming than other softwares.
Alrighty, and that should leave Logical. Don't need to roll. You're the last one up.
I also use Streamlabs. It's what I started streaming Stardew Valley on, and it kind of just stuck once Azzy convinced me to try to stream a D&D game. So.
Okay. Alrighty. And so we're going to start with the next question. I'm not gonna lie, personally, I do use slabs myself. I'm guilty of that. And the next one's going to be, what VTT do you... Runaway die. What VTT do you use? And the first one up is going to be DTE.
VTT. We use D&D Beyond for maps, character sheets, rollers. It's very simple to set up and go, and the sharing feature is great. It's a big positive. The encounter feature ties right into it, so I can have like 100 encounters set up, ready to go. For the Dagger Heart campaign, though, we're going to switch over to Owlbear Rodeo and use that. But experience-wise, it's mainly D&D Beyond.
Okay. And the next one is going to be Logicalyew.
I've used a couple. We started actually using Roll20, and then we moved from Roll20 to Foundry. And now Azzy's convinced me to use Fantasy Grounds. So I am using Fantasy Grounds currently. If the chance ever presents itself, though, I do want to switch over to using Tailspire. Which, if you're not familiar with Tailspire, it lets you create 3D interactive maps that you can then download, like HeroForge STLs, digital STLs, and you can put your tokens that you make in HeroForge directly into the VTT. It's a little bit more restrictive when it comes to like customization for tokens and stuff, for like enemy creatures and stuff. But the fact that you have a 3D representation of your maps is pretty cool. Yeah.
All right, next one up is going to be Dragon Teacup.
Most of what I do, because I edit into a podcast, is theater of the mind. I'd say 99% is theater of the mind. Like improv background.
Oh, you are cutting out horribly.
I'm cutting out horribly?
Just so you know, yeah.
That's weird.
Yeah, we heard improv background and then zip.
Anyway, so improv background, a lot of what I do is very descriptive, imaginative, and easy for people to follow. But oh, you know what? I forgot to turn my mic on for Discord, so you guys should be able to hear me now. Okay, there we go. Yeah, so mostly theater of the mind, but on the off chance where I need to use something, I've used Roll20.
Okay. The next person to go is going to be... We already did DT. Wait. Doesn't like your anything. We just did logical. And here comes the fourth one is Fargrim.
I use Foundry. I really like Foundry. You can add music in there. I like the different modules you can add to... well, for my campaign, I have different modules loaded up into different worlds for my campaign because different groups want different things. Like in Teacup's group, they have character sheet modules, more in-depth combative modules, because their group is in the middle of a war struggle versus all of the other groups. So I like the versatility of Foundry. I like the community behind it. I don't see myself changing from Foundry for a while.
Makes sense. Dragon Teacup.
I mean, at this point, I'm the only one left on this question.
Yeah, I was going to say. I'm trying to get, like, I'm tired of the dice already because they're re-rolling everybody.
So maybe just roll like the first one and then go in order from there.
Yeah, I think so. That'll work.
Could do. As far as me, I mean, you kind of got a little bit of a sneak peek on what I use. Yes, I use Fantasy Grounds. I do have some logic and reasoning on how I got there, though. So I have used Roll20 a number of times. I despise it with all of my being because I cannot make it work. Every time I'm in it, I am just confused to no end. I don't know why. I don't know what it is about Roll20 that just doesn't click with my brain, but I even as a player, I struggle with Roll20. I really liked Foundry when we were running it with Logical. It had some features that were definitely superior to Fantasy Grounds. One of my favorite features that Foundry has is the stare feature, the ability to use that to connect maps. I've actually had to come up with some workarounds for that myself in Fantasy Grounds. That I thought was really good, but ultimately I ended up with Fantasy Grounds just because of how easy it is to bring large amounts of content in. You can package things in your own modules very easily. The UI and the ability to create shortcuts and all of its tracking features, Dungeon Master side, make my life excessively easy, and I have a tendency to allow my players to run off their own paper character sheets. So even if they don't have all their stuff loaded up in Fantasy Grounds, the biggest thing we're using it for tends to be maps and images, which are very easy for me to control and throw up on my players' screens when I need them to, and I just have access to everything I need at my fingertips on Fantasy Grounds. So that's why I use that one. Though eventually, I, like Logical, would like to switch over to the Tailspire. I just suck at building maps in it, and I'm waiting for him to figure it out so he can teach me.
Alrighty. So, first one up for the next question. It will be, because I rolled it ahead of time, Dragon Teacup, it will be you. The next question is going to be, how do you go about making maps?
Ooh, I hand draw them. Because I'm doing theater.
Okay.
Because I'm doing theater of the mind, right? Like, I don't need it to be amazing, but like, just did a as they were all level 2, and
Cut out.
You're cutting out.
I think my settings in Discord might have flipped on me again, which is annoying. But either way, so I hand draw a lot of that stuff. Alternatively, if I'm using Roll20, it's most of the time what I'm streaming is called One Shot Wonders, which has their own maps that they have. So I don't make those I've already got. But yeah, hand drawn. It's kind of fun. I get full customization of whatever I want.
Okay. That would make next up, Fargrim?
I use Dungeon Alchemist, and primarily, I like to. Well, what I will do when we get back to playing is making videos of the maps through the token's eyes, so I can be like, "This is where you see the dead body. This is the kind of loot that you see over here." But that, and I'm trying to teach myself Incarnate. I can make world maps on Incarnate, no problem. But like battle maps and shit, it's like playing with goddamn crayons. I struggle so bad. But those are the things I primarily use is Dungeon Alchemist, and I highly recommend it for everybody.
Alrighty. Next up is going to be Logical. Logical, how do you go about making maps?
I use Incarnate. I've been using Incarnate for a long time at this point, like 8 to 10 years. And I will normally make all the battle maps in there. I make world maps, I make regional maps. Occasionally, if I don't have time, I'll throw some maps to Azzy to kind of finish up. So Incarnate is one of my favorite tools I've ever found for D&D.
Oh. DTE, how do you go about making maps?
Very carefully and with a lot of attention to detail. Dungeon Alchemist is my main map software. It's got a lot of resources to it, and recently, like the token view, I started doing cinematic views and taking angle shots because you get a lot more detail you can see there. It's a lot better than just the top down. A second software is called Dragon Map Maker. It's got a steep learning curve, but once you get it, you can make really cool maps. Those are my two main ones, and I run modules. D&D Beyond will give you access to the official maps, and I have repurposed maps from one module for another campaign, especially homebrew, because Wave Echo Cave is great, but you scratch out Wave Echo Cave and it can be anything you need for that moment.
Okay. Well, next up is going to be Asgeir. How do you go about making maps?
As Logical kind of alluded, I am a bit of an Incarnate simp. I feel comfortable going as far as saying that I cannot sing the praises of Incarnate high enough, at least in my opinion. I have not been using this software as long as Logical has, but I have made so many great strides in my skill. The main reason that I use Incarnate over anything else is I really, really like their dev team. They have a very active dev team that is constantly making improvements. Not only are they constantly making improvements, they actually take suggestions from their user base. So there are things that I have either messaged their Facebook page or talked to their support team about that are like, hey, I'm a pro user, I've been a pro user for this long. These are some of the things that I would really love to see, and here's why I think those be helpful. More than once I have gotten back the message, we'll take that into consideration, and then saw it implemented later. Or one of the most recent ones, I was told it's something that they're actually actively working on figuring out how to implement. So anytime you have a dev team that really cares about their product and is constantly working to make their product as good as it can be while listening to their community and that kind of feedback, I am a big believer in voting with your dollar, and I vote with my dollar on Incarnate because their team rocks.
Awesome. All right. So the next question will be asked by answered by Logicalyew first. And the question is, how do you moderate your chat and keep it welcoming and fun at the same time?
Okay. Well, Azzy is one of my mods, and I have a couple of other friends that are regularly there that help mod. As Azzy can attest, the TISM train hits hard sometimes when I'm gaming or doing D&D stuff, so I have a tendency to not be the best at looking at chat. But I have found an actual little AI kind of stream pet that will announce and welcome people as they come in, so that also helps cue me to like, hey, we have raiders, we have people coming in. So that's been very helpful. I also try to keep it engaging by having lots of things you could spend bits on. You can feed the stream pet, you can do things like play horrible sound bites using bits directly into the stream. You can throw shit at my face. All those kinds of things are kind of how I kind of try to keep the engagement up, but keep it moderately leveled.
Sounds fun. Okay, so next up is going to be DTE. How do you moderate your chat and keep it fun and welcoming?
I am very bad at looking at chat during streams. I am very engrossed in the games, and I try to keep an eye over on the chat, but I'm very bad at it, and I know it's not great. I have players in the games that are much better at looking, volunteering to being mods, and making sure that everything's nice and level. It's one of those things that I would like to get better at. Recently, to keep it entertaining, we have ways in chat to interact with the players to beef things up to give them charges, which I think is a question we get to talk about in a little bit. But I am honestly not the best at watching chat.
After all this, I have something that might help you guys. There's a way to set it up to where when somebody chats, all you, and you're the only one who hears it, is a little beep.
Oh, that would be nice.
I don't use it myself, but I know a few people who do.
That would drive me insane.
Okay, so Asgeir, how do you moderate your chat to keep it fun and welcoming?
I'm very lucky in that I have had a very large absence of people causing trouble. So I have not yet, I don't know if it's because I'm not big enough yet, or if I just have the right kind of community around me and tend to, gain people from the right places, but the most I really have to do as far as moderation goes is bot smashing. And my boy Troop, who's actually in chat right now, Aegis Bane, who is a mod on my channel, is so much quicker on the draw than I am, because I'm usually in the middle of doing something and I'll look over, I'll see it come up, and I'll go, okay, I need to get to that. Let me just get to a place where I can pause, and I look over and it's already dead. He is the most fantastic bot smasher anyone could ask for. Locked, when he's around, is really good at it as well. So that's how I handle the moderation side of things. As far as keeping things engaging, I used to really struggle with looking at chat. But what I found is I found a transparent Twitch chat overlay that I can put over any game or over my VTT, whatever I need it over, as long as the software that I have it over is in windowed mode. And so I have my chat in a constant live feed directly in front of my face at all times. So I'm very good at trying to engage with chat. One of the biggest challenges that I find is the D&D aspect of it, right? You don't want to interrupt the flow of the storytelling to handle, chat moderation and talking to people, but at the same time, you want to make sure your viewers are seen. And so I cover that with a mixture of two things. Number one is if I'm in a really heavy story moment that I can't interrupt, and I think it would be very disruptive to the session, I will do text chat. And so I will interact with people in the actual chat itself through the chat interface. But if we're at a point where, it's not going to be too disruptive, or even if someone just says something that's so funny that I can't help it, I do, address them out loud.
Okay. Dragon Teacup, how do you moderate your chat and keep it welcoming and fun?
Yeah, I got a couple friends who mod for me. So they're like regulars in my chat anyway. I'm lucky I haven't had anything too egregious yet. Keeping it like friendly and engaging. I do have like a Streamlabs little thing that pops up to let people know, hey, if we're playing D&D, might not live as normal. But I do, like, if something's really funny, I mention it out loud. And honestly, a couple of those moments have made it into the podcast itself because they were funny enough that they didn't need to get edited out. And then even now, while we're chatting, I'm like typing and chatting with some of the people in the chat.
Yeah, I can see that actually.
And for me, I like splitting my attention that way. It's not too hard. It's not like we need to go and have like paragraphs of conversation. Just like a quick response here or there lets the people know that they're getting a little bit of love and a little bit of attention. And honestly, when I'm on stream and I let people know what people are saying in chat, I'm a little bit more like the people I'm playing with a little more excited because they're technically performing. They're live. They're being watched. So hearing that feedback feeds the session, even if it is kind of a pause. Which, like, as long as it's not too much of a stoppage to the session, yeah, it ends up still being fun and engaging for everyone.
Awesome. Okay, and I think that was everybody for that one. So, okay, the next one we're going to start with Fargrim again. And the question is, have you done giveaways or contests, and how did they go with your audience?
We haven't done anything like that. I'm trying to do a fundraiser. I'm not sure if I can do it this Saturday, but probably a weekend I'll throw on good old Rudolph and try to make some money the good old way. But I haven't done giveaways yet, but once I have merch, I will give away t-shirts and things like that. Hopefully if I get the right hopefully if I get the right 3D printer files, I'll be 3D printing dice and having that kind of a giveaway, but I don't think my 3D printer's good enough for that.
All right.
Yeah, that's what I got.
Okay, so Logical, have you done giveaways or contests, and how did they go with your audience?
Yes, I think I've done one giveaway, and I'm pretty sure Azzy won that giveaway.
I do. I have a T-shirt with his logo on it.
Yes, so
I wear that.
So it did actually work. I am actually planning to start doing them probably once a month, just from items from my merch store. Streamlabs is actually pretty nice for it, because you can mod the CloudBot to just have a bunch of different giveaways that you can do, and you just click a button and it goes through and it says, hey, here's how you enter, here's when it's closing, and it's pretty good about picking winners and everything all by itself. So it's very nice and very intuitive way to get that set up, and it seems to help. Chat seems to like it a little bit. So
Okay. Alrighty, so DTE, have you done giveaways or contests, and how did they go with your audience?
We are actually in the middle, or near the end more specifically, of our first giveaway. The first giveaway is tomorrow on stream. To be entered, all anybody has to do is hit the follow button, and they have one entry to win. We are going to, after this, and the dice draw, it's a custom handmade set from a small business creator. The picture of them is on my stream and on my Twitch channel. Very beautiful dice. We're going to try to do monthly giveaways where all followers have one entry, and then you can gain more entries with subs and bits and channel points. It draws people in. It's fun to talk about the drawings on stream, and it's a great way to highlight other people's creations like dice. There's one person I'm looking at who makes D20 themed soaps that I'm probably going to look towards, but it's a great way to touch other communities and to get people engaged with your stream. So really positive.
Okay. Alrighty, so Asgeir, have you done giveaways or contests, and how did they go with your audience?
I have not yet. It's one of those things that's on my radar, but it is behind other things on the docket. For example, I still need to get my sub-tier badges and all of that stuff done. So on the horizon, definitely something I plan on doing eventually. I just haven't made it to the point where it's up on the roster of things I'm doing.
Okay. Dragon Teacup, have you done giveaways or contests, and how did they go with your audience?
I've done giveaways and contests with previous companies, but not with the Dumpstat yet. Prior to this, I used to be a part of like a musical group where I wrote and directed musicals, where we did stuff like that.
Cool.
We had like buttons and stuff. Oh yeah, if you guys ever get bored, check out Fandom Musicals. I played Goofy in a Kingdom Hearts parody musical, but that's like a decade ago. I have not done anything like that yet with the Dumpstat. We're still fairly new. That we've been, or just over a year, sorry, that we've been streaming. So definitely something I'd like to do on the horizon, but nothing as of yet. I did get cool hats made, and I've got some extras, but...
Well, I will say personally, and I'm not a DM, and I'm not answering as a DM. As a streamer, though, the contests, the giveaways, to keep everybody engaged, to get everybody hyped up and excited, and wanting to actually be a part of the community a little bit more, and more active in helping you reach your goals to grow your channel as well. Okay, now the next question is not going to be answered by number 6 because they don't exist. All right, Logical, are you available?
Sorry, someone knocked on the door.
I just wanted to check.
Yep.
All right, Logical, you're going to start us off again, and it's going to be, what's your approach to building a loyal community around your channel? Ooh, I love this question.
Honestly, when I started streaming, it was like during the tail end of COVID, and I kind of just did it as a hobby because I was laid off work, furloughed, and I was like, I have nothing better to do. I'm playing video games by myself. So I started playing it, and then as he started watching it, and then as he got, some more of his friends, and I think our approach, and I hate stealing Azzy's thunder, but we're so closely tied together when it comes to streaming, is we spent a lot of time trying to build up a community in our community Discord, and I think that's been a very amazing way to get not only us, but other fellow small-time streamers to kind of have a loyalty to each other. Like, if one of us is streaming at a weird hour, you can almost bet at least one person from our community is hopping in just to keep company, which has been very nice and a very heartening thing when you're doing some of those solo streams. So, just being friendly and open and engaging as much as you can.
Alrighty, so DTE, what's your approach to building a loyal community and around your channel?
My build has been slow. The Discord we have is mainly the players. The outreach that we do is built around social media, Blue Sky, other streamers. We participate in other people's Discords. What I would suggest, the best thing anybody can do to build a community, if you want to build it with streamers, watch other people's streams. Engage with them, talk with them, interact and be interested in their stuff, and don't just try to bring people over to your stuff. Collaboration is the best way to build anything.
Alrighty. So the next one up for that's going to be Asgeir. What approach to building a loyal community? What's your approach to building a loyal community around your channel?
So Logical definitely touched on it a little bit. We do have our own Discord, the Art and Apocrypha community, and it started honestly with just the players. It was the first few bits with players here or there, and then what we did was we encouraged everyone to, like, hey, if you have a friend who might be interested in D&D, just you think would fit in our community, welcome them in. Beyond that, I mean, it's just about being welcoming, I feel, is a huge part of it. You know, we try to interact with our viewers whenever we can. We are big on the Discord aspect of it. I think one of the things that helps us the most is how often Logical and I will hang out in the Discord and just talk with people, play video games. We have a very core group that has been very loyal and are the people we count on the most. Even when no one else is there, we can always count on them to be there, and they've honestly gone from just viewers and players in our campaigns to some of our closest friends, and I think that is a really big part of it. One of the things that I really harp on in our Discord, harp's not exactly the right word, but there's a reason that our main role in the Discord is family. I am a big believer in treating your community as family, being there for them in any way you can. You know, something's going on in their life, I let everyone know, hey, if you need me to lean on, talk to me.
I absolutely actually agree with that, because that's typically how I run my own. All right, so Dragon Teacup, what's your approach to building a loyal community around your channel?
Yeah, so I do a few different things. One, I always do my best to raid out at the end of streams and find new people to grow a community. That's how I met Fargrim. I just randomly raided his channel because he was streaming, and then me and Mines got into a chat. I ended up on Mines' channel. Mines did a one-shot with me on a whim. Then Fargrim was like, yo, come play D&D with me. Like, it all was just networking way. Some of it is reaching out. There's a couple people in our chat right now, Fireman, CPL, and Stuffy, who I came across through TikTok and reached out with, held a one-shot for them. We've got a fantastic called Mystical Everyday Heroes, and that one's
Oh, did he cut out again?
with people.
Yeah, you cut out hard.
I don't know what's going on with my mic, dude. Switch new computers. I've got the same settings, and it's giving me issues.
No, it's completely understandable. We just want you aware that some things were missed.
It'll cut out for you, but it won't cut out for stream, which is the weirder part. Yeah, it's just
That's
Discord.
strange.
It's a Discord thing.
Yeah. So I do that stuff. I also try and get people involved in projects that I'm working on a lot. As an example, like the project I'm doing called Oops Only, every single session is a one-shot that will have a guest on it. So communities as a chance to like play D&D with me, get their stuff out there, have their talent help enhance the thing that I'm doing. Super cool. Corey CPL in the chat was my first guest on there, and hopefully I get some of you guys out there at some point. But yeah, just chatting, meeting people, showing up to their stuff, trying to get them to join me on stuff. But through it all, it's just that like presence of support and friendship, and trying to keep that going.
Alrighty, so the next one up is going to be Fargrim. What's your approach to building a loyal community around your channel?
You all gave very good answers, but I would have to reiterate Teacup. You know, you gotta raiding after a session, finding someone new is always helpful. I started by meeting one of my players through TikTok, or one of my future players through TikTok, and I met my community now through them, which I was just it was just strangers. No one really knew D&D until I was just like, hey, let's play. And then we just fucking brick by brick built a community. Everybody, all of our viewers that were new to the game, like new to D&D culture and shit. It was a hype for a while for my first campaign that was a sci-fi. But yeah, our very good neighbor, Solid 10. I call him our neighbor even though I don't know him in real life. Besides Discord, but
Digital neighbor.
Digital neighbor, absolutely. He did a few one-shots. Well, he had me as a guest for a few one-shots. And that's where I got the inclination of, hey, let's do collaborations, but let's not just do games. Let's do events. Let's pick each other's brains to see what's going on. So thus we started to do other shit. And one-shots, but mostly events like this. I don't really see personally a lot of these events besides Dragon Tongue Entertainment for discussion groups. But yeah, just brick by brick and kindness and being there, having that tribal mindset of we're in this together and this is not just my world, my lore, this is our world, our story. Yeah, that's my approach.
And I agree with that. I actually agree with everything you guys said. All of it together makes for a great way to grow and get to know new people. There's outside networking ways as well, but we're going to save that for another time. All right, so the next one up is going to be Asgeir, and here is the new question. What's your process for preparing for a D&D session? Example, notes, maps, improv?
Okay, so I mean, it does vary from session to session. There is, I don't remember if this is something that's going to get. It is going to get touched on in another question, so I won't go too far into that now. But once you start to get to know your party pretty well, you can do a little bit of prediction on what they are going to do, what kinds of things that will interest them, and it allows you to do more targeted prep. I think one of the most important skills that a DM can have, though, is being able to fly by the seat of their pants. So while I do my best to have some basic set dressing images, I usually use AI to generate them because I'm not wealthy enough to pay an artist every time I need something. I wish I was, believe me, but that's just not the case. I try to have set dressing images, battle maps whenever needed for Incarnate. I do a lot of homebrew work on stat blocks a lot of the time. And I do a lot of custom token work, but there is no small amount of my sessions that are best summed up by one of my favorite D&D memes of all time, which is the players. DM, that was a great session. You must have done so much prep work for that. DM behind the screen, sticky note that just reads, sexy goblin in a hula skirt. There's a lot of sessions that are just sexy goblin in a hula skirt, and a lot of times those end up being some of the best ones.
All right, so Dragon Teacup, it is your turn now. What's your process for preparing for a D&D session? Example, notes, maps, improv.
I kind of do it all. I had recently done a stream where I went in and improv'd the entire thing and let them know ahead of time that I was improving the entire thing, and it was absolutely a fantastic session. It was a downtime session, so they knew that it wasn't like I was unprepared. But usually what I do is I write out some like mechanics and some fun stuff. I try and take out what their characters can do when I'm doing the prep, because then like I don't want to be writing into it purposefully to make it hard for them or purposefully to make it easy for them. I like to have those moments get discovered as we go. Sometimes it pops into my head. I do maps if it's something a little bit more complicated, because that's usually improv, because again, it's theater of the mind as we're chatting. But I have like a general idea of what the flow is and what objects are in the room that they can interact with. That all comes through as I'm describing it. But honestly, a lot of what my planning goes into is fun mechanical interactions or homebrew magic items or fun like characters that they'll interact with, and usually I try and like find to what the climax is where I'm gonna end the session, but honestly a lot of it's improv, which is my strong suit.
Alrighty. So the next one up is going to be Fargrim, what's your process for preparing for a D&D session? Example, notes, maps, improv. I already know the answer to this. Have fun.
Prep? No, I typically do over 6 hours of prep a week. That's not including like major campaign updates. Like I made a whole crafting system by scratch. Currently I'm working on animal NPCs that are homebrew, touch based on home, like revitalized owl bears. I made a joke about Kung Fu Panda Owl Bear. Because
I need it.
I know.
That's great.
Of course, luchador mask, but I love putting in work into that sort of shit. But notes, I sort of leave myself bones and breadcrumbs after last session. So I'm like, okay, this is where I expected them to go. Now I'm just going to build on top of that, move some things around, and my campaign's weird because I have 3 groups. So writing a story that connects all 3 takes a lot of moving parts and clockwork, so to speak. So in my head, it's just a lot of gears that kind of fit together like Legos. But when it comes down to it, like, I'm in chat, I'll smoke a joint, I'll listen to some music, I'll read over my notes, listen to some VODs, ask some questions an hour or two, like, who has this item? Or did Vera throw the dildo at the dragon, or was that her flaccid flail? Both are items that Neuro, aka Vera, has.
You've killed our host.
She's down for the count.
Like that.
Flaccid flail.
Yes, that was their first collectible item that group has found. The second was the paddle. It was some sort of floating paddle. I forget the name of it off the top of my head.
Yes, but I'm not the one holding in that one, so.
No, correct. The
He means an oar for canoes, guys. This is a family-friendly stream, definitely. It couldn't be anything else.
Right. Well, the activation word is your safe word. Anyway. Well, I'm a little all over the place when it comes to, I guess you could say it's like ergonomics. I write ergonomically. I fit my story to my players. I do that for every session. I think we all do this. I know, Asgeir, you grazed upon this. But as for targeting interactions, because I know someone's, ooh, shiny versus, oh, I want to touch that. Yes, Vera, looking at you.
I know.
So it's fun for me. And I just, being a DM is probably one of the greatest decisions I made in life, I have to say. I know that probably didn't answer the question, but I put hours into the work.
You're good. Okay, so the next one up is going to be Logicalyew. What's your process for preparing for a D&D session? Example, notes, maps. Confused. Wonderful. Or improv.
Confused. The answer's confused.
Yeah, honestly. There was, it really depends on my campaign. Some campaigns I do a lot of prep for. Other campaigns I do like 0 prep for. It also, like most people, depends kind of on the session. Like a lot of downtime ones I have are just winged, or like last time at the end of a whole boss battle, I was a little too far up in space, if you know what I mean. And it was like the last 3/4 of everything was just fucking bullshitted and winged and improv. and it turned out really cool. So I try to prep as much as I can, but with work it's hard. A lot of it does come down to improv. And I will spend... What?
Sorry, please continue.
I was gonna say, I normally will spend like the day of, so like for my Saturday games, I'll wake up at like 7 o'clock in the morning, and I will work on D&D prep until like 3 in the afternoon. Just not even just prepping for that session, but prepping like any other games I have, or trying to prep maybe a little bit in advance, be like, hey, I'm gonna write up some NPCs and do some basic shit. So if they decide, hey, what's this random peasant's name, I actually have an answer without having to fumble too hard.
Wow, look at you being more prepared than me. Imagine not having to have a name generator. Can't be me.
Okay. Now, let's see. Because my brain just died.
I would have to say improv is like
It's your fault.
Wow, damn.
Damn.
I wasn't even talking about you. Do you,
Anyway.
I feel like I need to give you flowers and food or something. Shit.
Chocolates, always chocolates.
Okay, so TTE, what's your process for preparing your D&D session? Example, notes, maps, or improv?
The two groups I'm running, one is a module, one is a sandbox homebrew. It's a very different process for both. With the module, you need to be familiar with where the story wants to go. So I sat down and I familiarize myself with where that's going. Then for any individual session, I look at where they're at and where the story wants them to go. When I figure out where the story wants them to go, I figure out what monsters they need to fight, set up the encounters, and then see if I can fit part of their story, their personal character story, into it to make it richer and more deeper for them. And that's how the module setup goes. The sandbox is much more open. I figure out a couple of places they could go, and then when you present them the options, you see where they're going to take the story. And more often than not, it's not a place you're expecting, so you have to be ready for the improvisation. I mean, both groups I figured out a long time ago, I can't predict what they're going to do. If you set down two choices in front of them, they are going to reject them both and do something entirely different. So improv.
Never had that in the campaign.
It's so true. It's universal. It's a universal DM experience. Be prepared to think on your feet. Before you set down, before you do it, what I would advise, if you're planning on running monster encounters, look over the monster stat block and have a strategy for them that's not all the same for all of the monsters. Figure out, how does this monster attack? Does this monster have any special abilities? When will this monster run? Why won't that bad guy run? Figure out the motivations of the NPCs, and that will help put your story on a better track.
Okay, that sounds good. I am going to check with you guys because we're already at an hour and a half. Does anybody need to take a break, get a drink, restroom, or anything like that?
I'm on my second
I have the
monster,
luxury of
I'm
a
good.
VTuber avatar, so I've been doing that as needed.
Okay.
You guys don't have cups under your desk in case you need to
I don't have the appendage for that.
I have a
Get a funnel.
Get one of the Go
Come
Girl
on.
things and
It's
just
2025. They've got oval funnels, okay?
I don't want a Shiwi, okay?
The Stewie. Oh, that's great.
Okay.
No, if anyone needs a break, that's fine, but I'm good personally.
I'm good.
I need a
good.
break.
Okay.
But I tell you what, if you guys don't need a break, what I can do is ask the next question. We'll get the roll for the first one to start. everybody already has the list, so what I've been doing is continuing from where the roll starts all the way through until it cycles back.
Sounds good.
Okay.
I've got that order on my screen, so I don't need to jump through the chat to find it, so I can help with that.
I do as well. Numbered even.
Yeah.
So do I.
Look at it.
Oops. Shit, I just lost the next question. Give me a second.
We're so professional.
I went to do something else because I sent somebody else a link and I lost the next question. I'm going to skip it for now. Okay.
Make it as a wise man.
DTE, you're going to start us off. How do you resolve your player conflicts and disagreements during a campaign? I actually love every time this one gets asked.
Slap them. No.
That's group
With
dependent.
the big stick.
My two groups are different on how they resolve things. One group, I won't say which one, but one group is much more confident in self-policing, having conversations amongst themselves, and I don't need to be brought in unless I get uncomfortable, and it's very hard to make me uncomfortable. It's not impossible. Jester was just talking about dildos in the chat. Jester might make me uncomfortable. He's one of my players. He might make me slightly uncomfortable in the next game tomorrow. But that one group is self-policing. They'll figure things out themselves, and I only need to be brought in as a last resort. The other group, if there is a problem, some of them will talk to me about it. A lot of the times you can feel the tension that's growing. If you feel the tension, it's best to find a way to let the air out of it. That way you can fix it before it becomes a big problem. If anything you can fix, detect early before it's a big problem, you can save your groups that way. So some things are best not swept underneath the rug. But that's all I've got, I believe.
Here you go to
Prezzy's next.
Asgeir.
Asgeir.
Azzy, that works.
Azzy.
Asgeir, Azzy, Pyrazire. Just don't call me late for dinner and we good. I once told my boss that he could call me fuckface for all I care. I really don't. But I have what I call the Vegas rule. And it is named after what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. And this is a big rule that I harp on at my tables. It is a staple of how I run D&D. The Vegas rule for me is what happens in character stays in character, and what happens out of character stays out of character. Right? So if you have an issue with an individual at the table, like an interpersonal issue, that stays out of the in-character RP. And if you have an issue with a character in RP, you understand that it's a character that did that, not the person. And that is a very clear distinction that I actually make sure is enforced and understood from day one at session 0 in all of my campaigns. That does a huge amount to police things and keep things contained, because when you have that very clear boundary between in character and out of character, it prevents issues of when a character would screw another character over, which does happen from time to time. It's not common, but it does happen. If you set that boundary in advance, players don't tend to take it personally because they know that's the rule. Beyond that, I trust my players largely to bring things to my attention when needs be. And when that happens, one of the foundational staples of my community is we're adults here. We're going to act like adults, and we're going to talk about things like adults. We're not going to start screaming, calling each other names, and because I tend to draw my games from my community, and that's the expectation that people have, generally speaking, things are fairly easy to work out. I do have one last hidden emergency lever to pull, but if I disclose that emergency lever, it immediately becomes useless, so I'm just going to go ahead and pass it on to Dragon Teacup.
All right. Honestly, my day job is a manager, and I've been managing for 15 years across multiple companies. So for me, handling conflict fairly second nature. The other side of things that does make it more difficult is you're live and you have people watching you, and that can get a little challenging. One thing that I have is clear lines, and like usually when people think of lines, they're thinking like, I have this extreme fear, we can't go there, or this topic will really bother me. But there are other lines such as PvP, or like arguing at a table. Like the thing that I do really well is called not being scared to lean into discomfort. And I use this professionally as part of my career. I use this. If you are not scared to lean into those uncomfortable moments and just bring it up, that solves so many issues. As an easy example, there was a character who was joking around about wanting to see another character naked. They're like, and both of them were totally on with the joke that was happening. One was a changeling, and he was like, I need to pretend to be you to do this like striptease, so I need to see you naked to know how that goes. And they were like joshing back and forth, and there was a ghost there, and the ghost was like, well, I mean, I could possess you and then like make it happen. And we were like, it was funny, but we were never going to do that because of consent. So in the middle of stream, we're talking about it and joking about it, and we all know this is a line, we won't go there. And then the ghost added some lines being like, no, I wouldn't do that. I'm just kidding. I would never take consent away from a friend. And we rolled past it. So we like towed the line, but as a group knew what the line was, discussed it, and moved past it while keeping in the scene. And like, honestly, as long as you have open communication with your players and you can do that, you're able to navigate past those a lot easier. So clear lines, don't be afraid to lean into discomfort. Fargrim.
So typically I have this like open door policy where if you have a problem, let me know. Like even if it's like on stream where like in your group before you joined, Purple had to correct me a few times on not only rules, but like I was giving out dialogue and I cut him off by accident. Like I'm a very socially awkward person and I struggle with communication. So being in the DM chair, I constantly try to push that so I can better myself. But if I'm having trouble with a player, I'll let them know after session. I'll be like, hey, you know, this is something, is everything okay? Can we talk about this? But I'm always there to hear my players out if they have a problem amongst each other, which I've had to speak to a player recently, which I don't like doing. But if multiple players have a issue, I gotta do something, which I let them off with talk to them twice. But yeah, there's always different ways of mediation because there's different ways to skin a cat. But yeah, I like what Teacup said with the able to have uncomfortable conversations to get over those things and move on. But yeah, clear communication.
Talking things out does wonders. It's crazy.
I know, right?
Being an adult? What?
No.
I know. The audacity.
Pass on that option.
I'm here to play a wizard. Why do I have to adult? Gross. No.
I mean, you're literally playing the only math class, so I mean.
Actually, I do have a side question that's not on here that actually kind of should have made the list. What do you guys do for your session zeros?
Ooh, we'll do that one next. Let's make sure Logical gets a chance to talk on this
absolutely.
one. And Neuro said she had something as well.
Very much like Azzy, I'm a very much kind of try to keep whatever is happening outside, and whatever's happening in the table is the representation of a character, not the actual person. I actually had to talk to somebody because a couple of players were feeling like there might have been some fudging of dice going on and stuff like that. So, I made sure I wasn't I wasn't accusing, but, clear communication and being like, hey, I know this sucks for you. This also sucks for me that we're having to have this talk, and being a little sympathetic to kind of what their situation and their viewpoint might be can help a lot. Luckily, same as Azzy, I haven't actually had too many problems when it comes to play interaction and interpersonal conflict. But yeah, that's kind of the way I tend to try to deal with things, is just be like, hey, look, here's the problem that we're having. Let's talk about it, and if we can't find a solution, then I wish you the best. May your adventures continue elsewhere, or really try to find a solution and get everything hammered out between everybody.
I absolutely agree with all you guys there. I don't know. Yeah, you should be able to hear me.
We can hear you, yes.
Okay. I wasn't sure if I switched mics back. But I absolutely agree with you guys. There is, though, a point sometimes, it's not directly campaign related. Especially with having larger servers, shared servers, things like that. Handling a situation like that needs to be done with a lot of grace. Because sometimes it is a very sensitive issue. And sometimes it needs to be nipped in the butt before the entire player cast decides there's a problem.
Why did I disappear?
Uh-oh.
What the heck?
Vanishing Act.
I think we lost Fargrim.
No, we didn't lose Fargrim. We lost Teacup.
Okay.
But,
Everything's back. Great.
Awesome. But yeah, I mean,
Kim just went poop.
It can be a little difficult sometimes trying to figure out how to handle the situation, what the gradient of the situation is.
Yes.
And the best thing is try to open that door of communication and be like, hey, without naming names, I've had some complaints. This is what the complaints are, and either I need you to fix the problem or find a solution, or we can't continue at all. And that's just stuff that I've dealt with and been through, between having my own stuff in my Discord and having a few complaints in other places.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think a lot of my follow-ons and thoughts on that are covered under the Session 0 question that Fargrim would like to add. So if we want to move on to that, I think it is a very good tee up.
Yeah. Again, sorry for interrupting. I was just like, man, that was a good question. So we'll start with Logical. How do you do your Session 0s?
My Session 0s actually tend to be kind of Session 1. A lot of the players I will work with one-on-one, opposed to a group setting. If there is any questions, I will often have a little short 10-minute meeting of hey, here's the world setting. Here's what I'm thinking for this campaign. Is this what everyone wants to do? Is there any changes you guys want me to make? And then I'll if there's any guidelines to any sort of character classes or character creation, I'll hand those out. But I try to keep the Session 0 short, and then I will have set up little like longer 3-hour meetings with characters, with people to actually like, get their characters fleshed out so that nobody feels a lot of pressure in a session 0 to try to, kind of force their way into the conversation. That way, if there's somebody that is a little bit more withdrawn, which we have one of those players, and then I did just a solo session with me and her, and it was fucking incredible. And I have found that actually has kind of helped in the couple of session 0s I've ran since that one, of being like, hey, I'm giving cursory information at the session 0 in the big group, but I really want to hear from you guys as individuals and see what you guys want, or if there's anything I can help you guys with when it comes to your character and the world as a whole, which it seemed to really help with the complexity of setting up this college game that we just started running. That's a good question.
I have that question
That was a
saved.
great answer.
I do believe I have that one. Let's see. Actually, I don't have that one saved. I think actually, didn't we? Not for session 0 specifically. It's just for a campaign period. Okay. So, everyone, I am saving your questions in the group chat. We're going to try to get through the main questions first, and then we'll do the side questions afterwards if we have time. I know some of us have busy schedules, work tomorrow, or anything like that. So, but we can also save those questions as well for the next Q&A.
Yeah. Sorry about that.
I'm off work tomorrow, baby. Keep me up all night.
I mean, my normal Thursday
Somebody
night
clip
stream
that.
runs till 2 a.m. Oh, I'll keep you up, Teacup.
I'm glad you knew that was directed at you.
Yeah, I mean, I figured. We've got such a close bond already.
Close bondage. I mean, what?
Huh? What?
No, well, I mean, if he's down for it.
All right. So the next question, we're going to start off with DTE because we've already got a rule. So what is your approach to world building? Do you plan everything or do you just wing it?
Apologize for interrupting. We have not gone all the way around with the session 0. We've only done logical so far.
Wait, that's session 0.
We added a new question in.
The spontaneous question. Like I said,
Yeah, we added
okay.
one midstream because it tags on with the previous question.
Okay, that's absolutely fine.
But I'll take the session 0 question. Logical just ended, so. Session 0s, I have a list of themes that I hand out beforehand that I ask the players to fill out where they're comfortable, where they're not comfortable. I look at them during the session 0. I go over that list and I set forward the expectations of the group to make sure everybody's comfortable, to make sure that we're not going to pole vault over any lines. We talk about PvP. We talk about the campaign setting. There are some themes that are impossible to get away from in certain campaign settings. Like if you're running a Curse of Strahd campaign, there's gonna be child suffering and stuff like that. Barovia is a horrible place. So go over all of the settings, or all of the themes in the settings. Go through people's comfort list, see where they're at.
That's perfectly fine. Once we get through that wave of applications and all of that jazz, and I have my set players, at that point I will set a date for my session 0. I will get everybody in a DM call, and I will start going through, first and foremost, the world setting. I will talk to people about where the campaign is going to be. I will give them not all of the information I have, because I have a giant, like, real world sized world with a bunch of different cultures, but I'll make it very clear, hey, if you have questions, let me know. I'll give you kind of the overview tour of the world of Amberhale, which is the world that I have written and that I run in. And then once we have that done, we'll start working on characters as a group. The reason I like to do characters as a group is because it allows people that opportunity to do characters that are tied to each other if they want. And even if I see an opportunity where it's like, hey, this person's story aligns with this person's story pretty well, I'll even say, hey guys, this is a place where you could have your characters intersect if you want. You don't have to, but I just figured it was worth pointing out to try to tie the party together better. And I also find that a lot of, especially veteran players in D&D, they like to try to fill roles. So if a lot of people in the group, like, they want to do this or that, and say healer isn't filled or tank isn't filled, I've noticed a lot of players will try to gravitate to whatever the fill slot is. And that's why I like to do character creation as a group as well. I think that mostly covers session 0 for me. I know that was a long, in-depth system that I have going here. Oh, nope, there's one other thing. I apologize. I forgot about it because I don't do it yet, but I'm going to start. So for the first time ever, I did something I would never have expected, and I did Never Have I Ever in character last night in session. And what I noticed with that was it ended up fleshing out characters and causing questions and thoughts that, yes, I have ADHD. Who could have guessed? It's almost like it's tagged. But it ended up fleshing out bits of backstory that other people hadn't thought of. And so I think what I'm going to do going forward, if we have the time in a session 0, is I want to do, all the characters in a bar together doing Never Have They Ever, just to give a little bit of that extra depth to the characters, because we got to see some really nice fleshing out and on the spot thinking last night. So that's something I'm going to do moving forward. Now you're good to go, Teacup. Sorry about that.
Yeah, no worries, dude. My session 0 is really just getting the information of what the campaign would be across after I have people who are interested in joining it. My big thing is schedule. Whenever I do a session, I always plan out, this is what the cadence will be. And again, I'm a manager by trade. Schedule's like second nature. Don't show up late to your shift. I'll cry. But no, I do set some expectations around that. So like Fargrim, you probably noticed when I joined your campaign, I knew there was 3 Thursdays in the next year that I won't be able to make, and I let you know about them way ahead of time. And then when it was coming up, I'm like, it's this Thursday, just because I'm like, that's important to me and shows that like for me, if people do that with me, I know it shows that they care about it.
And every Thursday I was like,
I'm so sorry. It's only one more. And scheduling's the big bad evil guy of D&D, so I try and kick him in the ass before we even start. When it comes to like consent and things that make you uncomfortable, and that open door policy all the time, and I let people know that ahead of the gate. Everyone who plays D&D with me joins my Discord server. On my Discord server, before you are specific rules and regulations that I make people read through, and they have to do like reacts and stuff like that before they gain access to the full server. So a lot of that information does get kind of preambled there. So it's something that I can refer back to that if there's an issue. But in general, it's open door. If there's some sort of issue, I want people ahead of time, privately or as a group in those situations, I'll leave the door open for that. And sometimes that's interesting. I had one where a person was like, absolutely no spiders. Not something you'd really think about, but cool. So then that discussion became, is it like crabs too? Could I just reflavor giant spiders as giant crabs and you'd be fine? Or how far do we need to go in here so that you're comfortable?
I'm so glad you chose crabs, because my mind just went that way.
Now I'm curious, which way did it go?
Well, I wasn't thinking about sand crabs, was I?
I understood where that was going. I actually screwed that one up recently. Spiders are one of my go-to, and I totally forgot that I had 2 players that are arachnophobes, and I felt so bad about it. I have not run any spiders in that campaign since.
Yeah. Shibalu's saying spiders are not crabs. You're absolutely right, but they are both like similar shaped creatures, and you got to be respectful. So what if? And what flexibility do I have? But realistically, the session 0 is going over schedule. What sort of characters are we thinking? How are we going to message a group? Do you guys have some pre-existing relationships that we want to establish now while we're building our... Actually, if you want a good example of a session 0 not including that stuff, I did one recently that was posted, where it was just talking about like how the campaign's going to run and introducing people. But yeah, big thing. Nip that big bad evil guy in the bud. Get your schedule figured out. Get a cadence. Bi-weekly Wednesdays, every Thursday. It's always starting on April the 30th. Like, get that stuff in stone ahead of time. That way you can set clear expectations for the campaign. Was I the last one for that?
No, I think it's Fargrim.
All of you had really great answers. I started calling my session 0s session 0.5. So my last campaign I posted like 2 months beforehand. I gave out, it was a feudal Asian fusion themed campaign inspired by feudal Japanese folklore in the time period where guns and gunpowder was introduced in that era. So there's crude black powder, flintlocks, muskets. My group loves guns. So, I drop lore video. I make lore videos from scratch about my worlds, so they could be like, oh, I want to be from here. And they can get the whole timeline of my campaign, so I'm not like, in the beginning, every single time, so they can have those virtual handouts like at their leisure. That has worked out so fucking good. Save me so much time for explaining, but I meet with every player individually and I talk about, okay, who are you going to be in this world? And I build their character with them for the most part until we get to our session 0s. Like, for a great example, Odoroshi, Mines, in our Thursday. I helped him with his backstory. He was like, okay, where do Paoloni fit into this world? And I was like, they are the spirit keepers of the portal systems. Things like that. For my session 0, I also, once everybody meets, at the tavern or whatever, which typically I try to stay away from that stereotype. Sometimes I like to have them bump into each other in the village, or which started a fist fight between two players in game, which was a really cool way for them to meet. But I always try to spice it up when they meet, and then we leave that session 0 right in the heart of them doing something like together, like if they're breaking the ice with backstory or they get roped in on a story hook. We leave that energy right there and we hold it until we pick it up for our true session 1. So that way they have that like energy of, oh yeah, this is what I was wanting to do from last week. Get that momentum of anticipation going. So yeah, that's my trick to session 0s.
Alrighty. So we're going to be starting off with TTE. You're good, Rail, right?
Were we gonna circle back to the question that you had misplaced? That one was, can you tell us about your current D&D campaign and what's the main setting story, or the setting and main story?
Yes.
Okay. Would you like me to drop that in the chat so that you can pin it?
Please. Thank you
There you go.
so much.
You are welcome. I'm very glad I got these slides, so to speak, set up ahead of time.
Okay, so as long as he's available, we're going to start with DTE.
I'm here.
Okay.
Okay, so campaign setting. That's the question, right?
Yes. Well, can you tell us about your current D&D campaign? What's the setting and main story?
The Monday group is a Spelljammer group. Spelljammer is D&D in space. They can think of pirate ships flying through space. It started out, they were pulled into an Archfae's mansion and they were recruited to do something for him, to retrieve a family member from a rival Fae. He gave them a Spelljammer ship and they sailed across into the Astral Sea. It's kind of morphed into, they keep making deals with various devils, and they keep doing anything but the main plot, so they've collected 3 or 4 big bads that are all active, that they can all go towards at any point. So they really control where the narrative is going in that, and I just follow where they lead, ready to give them what they're asking for. The Friday night group is less chaotic. Running a module often is. Not that the Monday group is chaotic. I love you guys. You're great. The Friday group is Shattered Obelisk, which picks up where the starter set lets off. The group went to a small village called Phandalin. They went to run security for somebody who was trying to restart a mine that he found that was magical. During the process, they are searching for ancient netherese shards before a group of mind flayers can get them. If the mind flayers get them and complete their ritual, they'll be able to start a new empire, create new illithids without tadpoles. So they'll just be able to take a large chunk of Faerun and make it mind flare central in the blink of an eye, as a godlet from the far realm reaches into the material plane. I think that really covers what they're all going for in the settings of the two. They're very different styles, but both very much worth watching and fun to play.
So, Azzy, your turn. What's your approach to world building? Oh, wait, nope, that's the wrong question.
Nope.
I'm so tired. Okay,
You're
look,
good. You're good.
trying to parent at the same time right now. Can you tell us about your current D&D campaign and what's the setting and the main story?
Yeah, I absolutely can do that. Mainly because there's so much, I'm going to give the very, very hyper light overview. So all of my campaigns, by and large, that I have run up to this point have been set in my homebrew world of Amberhale. The best way I can describe Amberhale is it is a weird mix of medieval with a couple of cultures moving up into steampunk. I take large influences from the real world, so we have an entire area that is very Aztec themed. We have a group that I can best describe as the South American IRA. Like we have Ozenhercher, which is essentially the British during their imperial era, but if they were German and Dwarven. We've got an area that's very high fantasy, very themed on Arthurian lore and legend, with very English and French leanings, and we've got an area to the north that's very Norse and Viking themed. So we have a little bit of everything. Oh, and can't forget Fairy Japan. That basically sums up Fairy Japan. So we've got a little bit of everything for everyone in the setting. As far as where things are currently with campaigns, we have 2 campaigns at the moment that are running. both are actually feeding into each other. So we've got the Cursed Scouting campaign, where the party is actually a group of Ozenhercher soldiers, by and large, who are allied to the kingdom that they're currently in, which is one of the Norse kingdoms of Jokul, and they have been tasked with helping the other Wednesday party scout out the location of the relics that they need to complete their current quest. Flipping back to the main game, we have, that is the Cursed Knight campaign. I'm going to give a very overview of this because there's a lot of things I can't talk about in case certain people are watching, and because Logical's here and there are things he's not supposed to know yet either. But you don't know about that. Shush. The summary is they are trying to find Odin's sword, and that sword resides in the Forest of Life. It is a place where mortals cannot normally get to. Their current quest is to find all of the pieces to complete the ritual that will gain them access to the Forest of Life, and then find that sword before the demons that are invading the Forest of Life get it. So that's the general overview on that one. I do have one more that is upcoming later this year, where everyone is going to be Ozenhercher Special Forces, and it's going to be a very Eldritch Horror themed campaign. And I'll throw it over to Teacup.
Yep, Teacup. Can you tell us about your current D&D campaign? What's the story and setting? What's the story? What's the setting and main story? Sorry, that took a second.
Guys, I run so many goddamn campaigns. I'll keep. So I got my home, my in-person ones. I've got one called Mentalis, which is about a bunch of pirates that try and save a princess. Currently, they're stuck in hell and descending through all 9 layers. Because one of the players, their mom, yes, mom, is Asmodeus, and hell is just their training ground. That one's a lot of fun. I have a fun mechanic called Hell Deaths, where they can die up to 9 times as they slowly get more and more corrupted by hellish influence. Pretty cool. I also have Spelljammer, Light of Exarchus. It's a group that I've been running since my sessions, so they've switched over and we're just running the base module for that one, but they're all playing very fantastical races, and they're a crazy group. I just finished running Radiant Citadel, where I connected all of the one-shots into one big adventure and homebrewed a final session that was at level 20, where they were fighting an ancient sapphire dragon called a Pep, but his was the man with the sapphire eye. And I built him up throughout all of the 13 adventures that they have in that book. On stream, I run the dump stat. So there's 3 main campaigns with the dump stat, and then occasionally we do one-shots. The main campaign that I run, the first one I started was called Valbro, which is about 4 people who grew up in high school together in this magical town in an otherwise not magical world. They left, tried to make it in the real world, failed horribly, and have returned back to town, and immediately got sucked up into some bullshit. There's this ancient fox demon called the One Between All that they've been contesting with, that's been slowly corrupting people in their town. It is very the most recent episodes, they are currently at an everything to do with sex show, and they are about to get into a fight with some succubus that tricked them. The second campaign I started is called Daphlina. Daphlina is almost at its finale. I think we were filming on this Sunday, if I'm not mistaken. So it is the Phandalin campaign, but slightly changed, hence the name Daphlina, where instead of things like goblins, it's kobolds, or instead of bugbears, it's hobgoblins, instead of the black spider, it's the white wolf, things like that. The other big change is that all of the characters are level 20, so they are way overpowered for everything that they do. They have the prompt that they got was, "You are heroes of the realm. You just defeated the evil Axton and stopped him from summoning Tiamat to the mortal plane, and now you're returning home." They get home and they get sucked up into the Phandalin adventures. And that one is high role play. It's 3 characters. One of the characters is the most annoying narcissistic character you will ever meet in your life. Harangon, who has a harem. And it's really, really good. I have a fun idea for what the final boss is going to be that is taking a fun D&D concept and exaggerating it greatly. The final one that I'm doing, I just started, is called Oops Only. It started with Oops Only Barbarians, and every session is a one-shot set at a different point in time, slowly going from the beginning of a world to what will be the end of the world. So we started with Oops Only Barbarians in prehistoric times. The next one is going to be called Oops Only Rangers, and it's going to be set 500 years after the events of the first one in the Arctic equator. And yeah, those are the 3 main ones that I have. That I do streams. I also edit them together and put them onto a podcast, so you can check that out on Spotify or YouTube. And keep as up to date as I can with it. The Daphlina one, I've got maybe 2 episodes that I need to edit still. Oops Only, I'm almost fully edited the first episode, and
He is cutting out pretty bad right now.
as well.
Dip it in and out.
I'm gonna get a friend to help me out with what the fuck is going on with my microphone. It shouldn't be affecting Twitch though. So if it's affecting Twitch, it means it's my microphone now. Okay, the Fireman saying stream's good.
Yeah, I think it's a Discord thing for at least my stream, and I guess since we have shared chat, everybody, I tossed a brief summary.
Side.
Yes, he's hearing your Discord side. He's in my stream, but I dropped a brief summary of the Oops Only in chat as well, because you gave us the summary last time when we all met up ahead of time.
Thanks, guys.
Yep.
New computer issues. I really need to figure out this mic. I keep twisting it and nothing seems to work. And I have the settings set up exactly the way they were on my laptop. So why is it different? Technology.
Because when you change from a laptop to a PC, the crisp settings and the gain settings on Discord are amped up a little bit, so you're gonna have to drop everything down a little.
I have everything turned off, so there's no reason why it would be doing it. It's all good.
Yeah, because it's acting like you're peaking it.
Weird.
It's not even chipping out. Okay. So the next one would be Fargrim.
Sorry about that. I had a stretch.
You got a stretch or a scratch we couldn't look at.
Stretch.
You know I'm gonna pick on you. Anyway,
Too close to my mic.
Fargrim,
Try this.
Yeah.
can you tell us about your current D&D campaign and what's the setting and main story?
All right. Well, I got inspired to write my campaign story by reading the birth story of Confucius. If you don't know, Confucius was a Chinese philosopher and a speaking chimera approached his pregnant mom, was like, hey, your kid is going to be a king without a throne, I believe the quote was, and produced a jade tablet. Now, if you guys are huge into like old history and shit, all the emerald tablets and all that shit, I was just like, I want to have this this creature tie everybody together. Thus the Quillen's Fated Few. So it is very heavily inspired by what I come to understand of Japanese culture, mostly through my interpretations, through anime, through actual film, and a lot of their folklore with yokai, yori, their divination philosophy systems, which I cannot pronounce, but it's not. I do I have been doing some research into Taoism and Shinto for this project, which is very interesting. But the best way I can describe it is a Asian fusion restaurant with all the best shit. I have 14 players. Each of them are in a different part of my world and are and will soon to be found out that they're all connected together. There's only one player that has that key to that information. But, well, at least the key to how everybody's connected. Not really, but has an idea. What else can I talk about without giving too much details? It's an MMO. I have groups of... Vera's group has 6 people, and then I have 2 groups of 4. Teacup's in a group of 4. Every story is vastly different, but it's all the same world. So yeah, it's Asian fusion restaurant. That's what I got.
Okay, next would be up Logicalyew.
For D&D, I am doing a magical college game. Since Azzy's in here, I won't give away too much, but they are they are still in kind of the first arc. We are only on episode 7, so now's a good time to catch up. It's great. Yeah, so they are all going at a magic college in my homebrew world of Lorendanth, which is a very interesting world that started with only 2 gods, the god of space and time, who then gave birth to life and death, and then life and death gave birth to basically kind of lesser gods that control the kind of minutia of everyday life. So the party is kind of working their way and trying to exist in the world. We have an amnesiac played by Azzy. We have 2 kitsune. We have a horned demon owl and a Victorian ghost lady. Is the best way.
Logical. Yeah. Just to kind of tag on with it, Zen asked is it like Strixhaven or is there more homebrew aspect to it? I figured that was a question you'd want to answer while you're on the topic.
Yeah. So I'm using some of the rules from Strixhaven, especially for the classes. But I have done a lot of homebrew. I told the people when we were meeting in our previous chat, I've reworked familiars. So the familiars actually have a lot of weight. They all have a special ability, and they actually level up as your character levels up. Getting things like evasion, where they just don't take damage from, certain types of attacks, all the way to granting advantage in like a 10-foot radius on a skill. So it is definitely a lot of homebrew, with the base bones being Strixhaven. And then for Cyberpunk, that's just pretty much the map and everything is base, and then I have basically just made up everything else. Except for certain big names like Adam Smasher and Johnny Silverhand and all the fun ones.
Alright. So, for this round, we're going to start with Dragon Teacup. What is your approach to world building, and do you plan everything or wing it?
Alright, I was toying around with some audio settings, so let me know if this works or not. Hopefully this fixed it. For world building, I usually come up with an overarching idea first. So like for Valbro, I created kind of like what the main idea is with how the magic works and how it's there's this effect called the obscuring throughout the city, but I haven't gone in and said these are the places that surround Valbaro. This is the specific buildings in Valbaro outside of the ones that were linked to character backstories or really needed fleshed out, like the church, because the church was a huge deal with this. So I give just enough for the players to play in, and then a lot of times they will like, oh, we want to go to this place, or this seems like it should exist. As an example, I had this character called Electra Boken set up, and they were supposed to go and find her grave, and they were like, can we figure out where her house is? And I was like, okay. I came up with a street address. It was called like 1440 Volt Circle or something like that. They went to their house and we just went with it, and it became a new location. When it comes to like developing the campaign and stuff like that, honestly, I improv a lot. Just making sure. Am I still cutting out?
No, you're actually great, other than the fact that I need everybody who's got him in Discord to turn him up a little bit so that your streams can hear him a little better, because when he changed, he went quieter.
Gotcha.
Yeah, yep, already got him cranked to 200.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, I've had him cranked to 200. Now I had to put my headphones back on.
I can boost that a bit. Let me know if that's better. That should probably be a little bit better. I've also moved my mic a bit away. Okay. So a lot of what I do is developed as the characters are interacting and exploring with the worlds, and I'm slowly adding on to the pieces that make sense, or improvising the pieces that make sense, and then using that to influence how I build it going forward. I find that makes it more accessible for me to be able to do more D&D overall, because people know I run an insane amount of sessions. Rather than being nitty gritty, intricate as I go. Did I cut out again?
You're good. Now.
Not really, no.
A little bit.
Okay.
You're
Thanks,
like,
guys.
Let me put it this way: before you were very, very in and out. Now it's like maybe we lose a word at most. As far as settings go, I wouldn't mess with them anymore. They're good for now.
Okay. I think I figured out what it was. My input sensitivity, for whatever reason, on this is different than it was on my laptop.
All right. So next up is going to be Fargrim. What's your approach to world building? Do you plan everything, or do you just wing it?
So I start with my world map. I design my world map, and I go through a few stages of rough drafting and revising, and then I start with an area, and then I start like, okay, this is my desert. Who's in my desert? Then I just start ironing out culture, societies, trade goods, economic trade route systems, on how this kingdom is connected to this kingdom, if they're allies or if they're just dicks to each other. Then I just finish that continent with, this is this continent's history. Let's move on to this one. As for winging it, I mostly do winging it for sessions. And NPC names. Like, I have a Commander Moorang. Very, very original, I know. But no, when it comes to world building and lore, that's where I take more pride in. Then I would have to say sessions. Because I love the background, and I like it for it to be solid as possible. If that makes any sense.
Okay. Logical. What is your approach to world building? Do you plan everything, or do you just wing it?
I plan out the kind of like at least the overview of the world. So I make sure I know like how many land masses there are, what each land mass is, kind of what the kingdoms are. A little bit about like, who's in the kingdom, who's the king, who's the queen, just kind of the bare bones. So if someone asks like, hey, who's so-and-so in this kingdom. But when it comes to like really nitty-gritty, really developing the world, I always start with where we're going to be playing. So my current world map for our game is literally just the one kingdom we're on, and that is it. That's all I have done. So I do spend a lot of time on kind of the current location that we are. When it comes to campaign, my campaign always comes from my world. So if I have like a really interesting, unique idea, like this world has a lot to do with chronomancy is very tied into this world. So this campaign has a lot of timey-wimey fucky shit. There's like time portals and other things like that are going to be happening. So I try to just pick a facet of the world to kind of represent, highlight in each of my campaigns.
Alrighty.
Then, if I need to craft anything else along with that, crafting additional things, additional rule sets, additional mechanics, all that kind of stuff.
Next up is going to be DTE. What's your approach to world building? Do you plan everything or do you just wing it?
There's really 3 parts to this that I can talk about. One, again, if you're using a module, you have certain parts of that world built in. What you need to do is you need to go in and figure out what needs plucked out and where your character stories need plopped in. A good portion of any world should have the characters' backstories, should have the players as active participants in building it. If you can do that, you can make a much more immersive world. And then it's just little tweaks in the module. I like to run a lot of lore as written because it gives the players the true experience of this was the intent of the lore, this is the intent of the world. Many years of D&D lore flows into the game. When you're not doing a module, when you're just doing a setting, you have more world building you need to do in some parts that are pre-built. So in the Spelljammer campaign, who are the pirates? What do the pirates want? Where are the pirates' coves? Where are they raiding at? There was an asteroid, a pit stop, a truck stop called the Edge of Forever, and it's populated with its own people. And then you have the Rock of Brawl, which is an actual setting that I like to run much closer to how it was written. So running not modules, but running the overworlds is much more of a mix of yours and theirs. And if you do it right, you give them a little bit of flavor of all of the settings, and that gives them a much better idea of that world with them fitted into it. The third, we'll be doing a Daggerheart campaign. With it, we're going to do one little mini campaign to explore the mechanics, very basic. But beyond that, I'm trying to write up a little module for it that's entirely homebrewed. With that, it's very contained. And writing a module is just trying to figure out. I'm doing it in acts because Daggerheart is very scene focused, very narrative play-like focused. So I'm trying to figure out where all the acts fit in, but I'm keeping the world very tiny and just trying to figure out how the city that they're going to be stuck in operates. And beyond that, you can only plan out so much in anything. You have to be able to be adaptable. You can't, if they want to do something reasonable, you can't tell them, no, you can't do that because the module or XYZ doesn't allow it. If it's reasonable, you can try to find a way.
Okay. Next up is Azzy. What's your approach to world building? Do you?
I said already.
Oh, okay.
You want me to just go, or do you want to read the question? I'm good either way.
I don't. Just go.
Say Levy. So my approach to world building, I have a single world that I run in right now. That world is Amberhale, and it has been an experience. Amberhale, as it is currently, has been the culmination of approximately 6 years of work, hard work both by myself and Logical, and also on the side, my boy who does not stream, but he is my best friend in the whole wide world, Solve. There were a couple of foundational aspects that I started with when I started this project. I should elaborate that this is intended to be published at some point as a third-party source book, which is why we're going as hard and in-depth as we are. But the first foundational aspect I started with was I wanted it to be a love letter to two of my favorite things in the world, which were Warhammer Fantasy Battle and Dungeons and Dragons. Second foundational aspect, I wanted it to be a world in which all of my friends who already had characters would be able to find a slot that they could fit those characters into the world, right? So you'll see some things where you're like, hey, why was that there? It, like, literally Fairy Japan, Yosei Rura, as it is termed, in World, literally exists because one of my players wanted the opportunity to have a Japanese tie-in, and I went hard into that. That is how that got there. The next thing that I did was I knew that I had to outline a few different rules and sets of things that needed to be in there. So I knew I needed to distinguish it from ye old generic fantasy setting. So I needed a shtick of some kind. In my case, the shtick became the name of the world, which was Amberhale, which is that there are these stones that fall from the sky like a hailstorm that are actually full of magic and can be used in some ways like a pearl of power. And Neuro has a hat now. The next big thing that I did as my next big step was I went and designed the Pantheon. So I have a close to 50 god Pantheon, and those are the things that I have the most in-depth, set-in-stone lore for at this time. Beyond that, I leaned into real cultures, real history, and the real world, which is one of the things that makes Warhammer Fantasy Battle, despite its absurdity, so believable and so rooted, is they're drawing on that. So I have an area that has a lot of very heavy Japanese themes. Some of the homebrew races are actually themed off yokai, for example. I've got the area of Ozenhercher, which is very historically informed with things like the German Empire and the British Empire and all of that. I had a theme for each area, so I got those all laid out and detailed just enough that players had something to work with. This has been a much bigger project than I anticipated. I may or may not have bit off a bit more than I could chew, but I'm working on chewing my way through it. And one of the ways that I have been doing so is I've been visiting different areas of the world with different campaigns. I've been fleshing things out as I go there. And anytime players have an idea that fits within the framework of the world as it has been outlined, I incorporate it. So a lot of NPCs and towns and all of these different bits of lore were actually formed because players had an idea. They wanted to do this. I went, cool, let me not only slot that in, but let me canonize it. Let me use it as a way to help me develop some of the parts of the world that I haven't done yet. So overarchingly, that has been my approach to world building. May not be perfect, but it's what I've been working with, and it's worked pretty well so far. And I made it in time for my ad to not cut me off. Perfect. Excellent. I was on the clock there.
The quietest joke I've ever seen. I'm sorry, that was fun.
It was fantastic. I had to not laugh while I was watching you guys do that.
We're all serious about.
That joke was so great.
All right. So, the next one. Okay, so we're going to start with DTE for the next question. And the next question is, if I could get my...
Did we go through everyone on
did we?
world building?
Well, it went... Yeah, because I
Okay,
keep it on where I rolled last.
Okay.
Yeah.
I will have to say to note the adding your character's backstory into your world is one of the whipped cream on top of that fucking hot fudge sundae.
And
Yeah,
it gives you
if you have
something
a
to
world
play
that's
with.
big enough... Yeah, and if you have a world that's big enough, no matter how fleshed out you've gotten, there's always a slot. You can always throw a new town in, throw an NPC in, throw an organization in. Because any world that's big enough to be believable has a spot you can include your characters and players' ideas into.
Hell, my players just half wrote their some of them half wrote their backstories. It was just like, hey, you come up with some pretty fucked up shit, make it happen. I'm like, okay.
Give me just a second.
That's kind of what I did to you with Teacup. I was just like, here's a whole bunch of shit you can use. I don't know what you're gonna do with it.
Dude,
but have fun.
Sometimes players just give you gifts, and it's the best.
It is.
My players
Like
give me
Neuro.
gifts all of the time because I have the best players. They one gift after the other. It's like, here you go, and they don't even realize it. They're fantastic.
It's like Christmas.
Okay.
It is.
After I asked this question, which is going to be really easy to keep track of the order because it's literally 1 through. Because we're starting with DTE. How do you incorporate viewer suggestions into your campaigns? And if so, how?
I would like to work on getting more viewer suggestions. We do have ways for viewers to interact now. Since we've hit affiliate, we set channel points up. We have a charge system where for every natural they roll, it gets counted. For every 10 they get a charge. The players can turn in charges for advantage. Players can interact with that through channel points and bits. I haven't had a lot of chatters coming in and saying that they want to see this or they want to see that. I would actually like to get to that. I would like for the chat to try to anticipate where the story is going, because the players already do it, and that gives me fuel. If the chatters did it too, that would be even more fuel. And then I would have all of these options to pull from, and I was like, yeah, that's where it was going the whole time. But no, it would be nice to have more chatters. Challenge to everybody in here, catch up on all of our stuff, and give suggestions, please.
Oh dear, that's a lot of content.
But it's well worth it. It could be very well worth it. But no, chat participation would be welcomed. It would be great. That's all I have.
You're cool. I think if we're going in order, just trying to keep things flowing while Nero's AFK, I think that brings it to me next. As far as viewer suggestions into your campaigns, there is a couple of different categories I think I would classify this into. So number one is the joke category. a lot of my players are also very active in chat, and even when I'm not streaming D&D, because I have this community that originally started around D&D, and with some great people who are hyper supportive and there all the time. Thank you very much for the follow. But you'll get these things that they'll like, hey, you should do this or maybe that, and they're very obviously messing with me. That as you do when you have friends. Generally speaking, the joke suggestions get handled one of two ways. I tell them to fuck off, because that's how you respond to your friends. And then more often than not, after that initial, one of my other friends comes in with, hey, but what about this? And then sometimes that ends up spiraling into a whole actual idea, and we go from a joke to something that's very real. And I have actually had that happen. So that's the joke side of things. As far as serious suggestions, that has two subcategories. So number one in those subcategories is, I don't normally get like serious targeted suggestions during D&D streams. I usually get those when I'm running what I call the behind the screen streams. And those are where I will sometimes, just to get an extra stream in, I will actually stream my session prep. And I'm lucky to have very good players who I can trust not to metagame, and so even if they do tune in, I don't have to worry about that ruining the session. Those are where I get those suggestions, and with those, I usually talk about it. I talk about it, I think through it, and I decide whether or not that's something right to incorporate. The second category is going into the up-and-coming Patreon project. So I had for a long time redeems that were allowed people to redeem magic items, NPC names, all of this different stuff that we're going to get incorporated into the campaign. What I ended up realizing is that my core loyal viewer base is so aggressively there all the time that the point stock that they built up meant that they were redeeming something literally non-stop, and I wasn't smart enough to put limits on that thing originally. So I've removed all of those redeems for the time being. I have a list of who's redeemed what, thanks to Twitch. And as I get time, I've fallen off it a little bit, but I am working on getting back to it. I suspect I'll get back to it more once I finish the transitional move to Colorado. But I'm going to be putting each of those together with a proper sheet, all of the magic items, all of the NPCs. I'm going to be putting together the NPCs and locations with plot hooks, details as these giant workup sheets. I'm then going to issue these sheets to every person who requested them. So if you were the person who redeemed the magic item, I'm going to give you a hard copy of the magic item. You have carte blanche to do whatever you want with it. Same with NPCs, same with everything else. And then I'm going to publish all of those also on Patreon. And honestly, at the rate that people redeem this stuff, I would not be shocked if at some point here in the not too distant future, I have enough to publish a whole book of just things that viewers have redeemed that can kind of just be this collection of the ideas of my community for people to purchase and go out and have fun with.
That's awesome, dude. I really like that.
Teacup.
All right. Inspiration. And on my channel, I have two different games where inspiration has different meanings. So one is inspiration, where if you don't use it by the end of the session, you have to give an inspirational speech. So it's super fun for that one, because if they get it, they're forcing themselves to use it on the dumbest shit. It's kind of a couple professional DMs, because I play with a couple who are pros. They've said that they really like the mechanic because it forces them to use it, whereas a lot of times people forget about it. I have another one called Guestspiration, where my guests come on and they get to use it for advantage, giving disadvantage, giving to a player, or using it for something I call I know a guy, which some people might know about, but it's a chance for the person to say, I know a guy, and they know a guy who might be able to help them with what they're trying to do. my last session, I had multiple people redeeming that, so multiple of those inspirations were getting thrown around, which was a lot of fun. And then I also do magic item redemptions. So different levels for common up to legendary. And then I usually hold on to those them when I'm just playing video games. Some people redeem them when I'm doing a one-shot, and I'm like, I'd rather this affect the actual world, the stuff that's going on the podcast. That way you guys, the people who are watching, feel like they're a bit more of a part of it. So like I've got, I think it's Boots of Elvenkind that are sitting on my thing waiting for my next Valbrel goes in there. And then the last one I do is naming NPCs. Popular, can get super funny. I had one person redeem the name Fillmore Butts, and he became such a huge part of the Valborough campaign. Like he got killed instantly, but then the changeling adopted his personality and had to pretend to be him for a significant part of a session. Like my fortune teller got named Livia Stonehealer, which was just a super cool name that one of my people in chat came up with. So yeah, those are the... Sorry, what was the actual question? Just like what redemptions we use?
How do you incorporate viewer suggestions into your campaigns?
Yeah, so those are the 3 ways that I take suggestions. For story and stuff like that, not really, because I don't know where it's going half the time. But there is occasional, like sometimes I'm bouncing ideas off of different people, or I'm just talking about it and they come up with a cool suggestion that influences the campaign. Like honestly, the end of Daphlina, the final thing that I have planned was a suggestion from someone else where I was like, I'm stealing that. That's fantastic.
Yeah, I definitely feel you on the stupid names sometimes. I've got an NPC who I have the challenge to write full plot hooks for and everything, fully fleshed out personality. I don't remember the full name. It's so long, but it involves like Lord of the Chamber Pot, Sitter of the Porcelain Throne, yada yada yada. That's
you want to hear the best NPC name ever?
Please do tell.
Ogden Wolfensteinisch Liger Hassenbergerdorf.
Oh,
That's like
yowza!
He's a devil that deals in
Yes.
stealing letters from people's names.
That is fantastic. I adore it. I might have to borrow that.
Or permanently Michelle Stonewolf, because she beat him. Anyway.
All right.
That would go on to Fargrim.
Fargrim,
Yeah.
do you incorporate your suggestions into your campaigns? If so, how?
Super, super quick. Was my audio better there?
Yes.
A little bit, yeah. Progress is progress, bro. I love it. So, viewer interactions, well, viewer suggestions. There hasn't really been a whole lot of that, unfortunately. I'm still trying to get used to the whole redeems and stuff like that. I have a whole bunch of stupid ones for sounds, because I want them to do something. I feel like, I don't know, I have this really weird brain, but I do have some ideas. Nothing that is ironed out for redeems. But there hasn't really been a suggestions. There has been times where chat has openly interacted with the setting. Like there was a first time viewer and my buddies who was watching my buddy in the session since we do the shared stream. He was just like, how fresh is the poop? Because they were hunting a wereboar. So we had examples of that, but no overall, hey, you guys should do this, or it would be cool if you guys did this. But hopefully we get there.
Yeah, because the only suggestions I do are to help them overall improve the stream. All right. What?
You're right. I should listen to you more.
I've been trying.
Did I?
Fuck you, Fargrim.
There's a reason there's a button for that.
You are my sunshine, my only sunshine.
All right, so logical.
Is this a sing-along?
It can be. Everybody join hands.
I don't get a lot of like viewer things. I get a lot of player shenanigans. I think their most recent is one of my players paid me $10 to make something called the ass spoons.
I forgot we did that to you.
I said on stream, I was like, bro, if you pay me like $10 in bits, I will make this stupid item, and they did. So now, canonically, there are ass spoons. I don't know what they do yet, but my players have requested that they remove a homebrew disease called bungus, which does in fact stand for butt fungus.
There's a fungus among us.
There's a fungus among us. I would love to see a lot more like you guys have been saying, some viewer suggestions.
Can I make a suggestion for the ass spoons?
Yep.
They cast prestidigitation, but purely only to shit someone else's pants.
Interesting thought.
That's it.
I will keep that in advisement. Right now I have them counting as daggers.
Those spoons were very specifically hand-carved wooden spoons, right? Correct me if I'm wrong. Okay. It was, if I may, it was honestly hilarious because he said that, the words came out of his mouth, and the speed at which he regretted them, the speed at which wallets were opened, money was chucked across the internet at him. He was just sitting there going, man, I sort of didn't think you guys would actually go for it. I'm like, dude, you know better. At least you should. You should know us better.
Yeah, I do.
You might just need a higher price point. See how much they're actually willing to throw at it.
Yeah.
He said $2. Jetson threw 10. He got overpaid instantly.
My yeah. Hey, as he got Pallet Town canonized in my other game, so
I did do that.
I just need to know the I hate you Neuro face Fargrim just made.
I should also note that getting Pallet Town canonized, I took advantage of the fact that Logicalyew is obsessed with randomization and chaos. So I asked if I could make a roll of persuasion against the DM himself to get it canonized, knowing full well he would say yes, and I won the roll.
That's some shit my players would do.
hey, the dice don't lie, dog.
Okay, are we ready to move on to the next question?
Yes.
All right. So the next question is, how do you handle big moments like character deaths or plot twists on stream? And we're going to start off with Logical.
Oh, boy howdy. For deaths, I normally give them a death scene. Really depends on the context. Let's see, I rolled 7 nat 20s in a fight. That shouldn't have happened in the first place. Killed one of the characters. Almost in like turn 3, killed one of the characters. And, you know, I in the back end, you know, asked like, hey, is this something you're okay with? You know, I feel like character deaths in like certain moments, especially like if it was definitely something that was avoidable, like in this case, the twin brother of one of the characters decided to go into an area literally called Murder Row and decided to fuck around and find out after the DM basically went, hey buddy, leave. This is not your area. And
you had an NPC walk up and tell them they don't belong there, they should leave, they're going to die, and they went, meh.
Yeah, so that actually got a player killed, and like I pulled him aside and I was like, hey, like, I understand if you don't want your character to die, we can bring him back, you know, I'll make some sort of minor consequence for them, just because I feel like, you know, they died, there kind of has to be a little bit of consequence. And luckily they were like, yeah, I want the character back. So we did a whole little in-game scene of them being called back and what that was like for them. And then like big plot twists, I try to handle it with as much tension as I can, making sure, you know, take moments to let the players have their moment. Because while it is still a cool thing that we're all experiencing together, the main characters are still got to take the spotlight. So, you know, try to still give them their place once they figure out a cool plot twist to just, you know, have their moment.
Alrighty. Next up is GTE. How do you handle big moments in stream, like character deaths, plot twists? I read that out of order. I don't care.
It's okay. I got it. Between the two groups, we've had 4 character deaths and 1 pet death. In session 0, I let everybody know that if your character dies, if the dice are against you or if the narrative is against you, death is something that happens, but we have a homebrew rule that if you die, your soul leaves the body, and on your turn, you can heal your players up to 10 health points at the cost of your health pool. You can give advantage or disadvantage at the cost of your health pool. And anytime you do that, you impart your memory onto that character, and you describe a scene that they see. So in a few rounds, the backstory is more open. There's more closure that happens. And it allows a player to keep in the game, keep helping the party, and lets their story not just end. For plot twists, we roll with it and we do the best we can. One death that was a plot twist, I had a player, this is one of my favorite moments, a player went to talk with a Medusa and separated himself from the party, and he let himself get petrified because he thought something great was going to happen. He was going to get this big beneficial gift, and that was one of our deaths, and that sparked a big fight, a big narrative moment. It was really fun how that character death drew everybody together, and that you don't need to ask your players to have like a moment afterwards. They're naturally going to role play into it and have a little wake or have a little discussion, have a little send off for that character. Unless one of the things you do, if a character dies, check in with the player at the next opportunity, see how they're doing. I like to have options to bring them back right away at a cost and not let them know what the cost is. And sometimes they'll take it, sometimes not. But death should be meaningful. Death should have an ability to have closure for the players. And done right, it's really, really deep, really, really meaningful.
They have a place on the Citadel called the House of Convalescence, and I had it where as long as your body was brought there, they could bring you back. But if you rolled under I would have them roll a d20, and if they rolled under a 5, something really bad would happen. And it happened in the second session to one of our gnomes who had his arm ripped off as he was killed. And he rolled a natural 1. So I ruled that he lost that arm. And then in the next session, they were trying to find out how to get him a replacement arm, and it became a really big plot device. And he ended up getting so he was a druid. He ended up getting this wooden druidic arm that ended up being a huge part of his character. So it was a really cool moment. Or I had a part where an entire party got TPK'd. It was against we'll call it the general to the main villain. They had these creatures pouring through portals, and this general was there. The general was the one summoning the creatures. Too many players focused on the creatures, not enough on the general. They got wiped out. They were like students in a high school. Their teacher cast Speak with Dead on them and started talking to them, and offered to bring them back, but saying that their form would be irrevocably changed should they choose to accept it. And what ended up happening was they all had Reincarnate cast on them with a homebrew table. So instead of just the normal 12 options or whatever, I had 60 options, and they all rolled on that table with advantage. So it let a lot of characters get this change to their character that was really cool, and it was a wacky campaign anyway, but a lot of them ended up making sense. Like a satyr turned into a minotaur, or a sea elf turned into a gif, keeping on that water theme. The only one that was really weird was a fairy turned into a simic hybrid, but it made sense because they were an aberrant mind sorcerer and they wanted the tentacles. So for me, it's pre-planning how those players will interact with death. And yeah, honestly, in the one campaign that I have, the Valbro one, death is real in that one. It might be a seemingly joking campaign, but that one, if they die, it would be like a proper character death, and we'd have to figure out how to do the send-off there. But the one player who is really worried about it, because his heart is the object of desire for the bad guys, has a backup character ready just in case.
Alrighty.
I hope my audio was okay.
You were good.
It was fantastic.
Thank fuck. Okay, I'm gonna quickly run to the washroom.
Not a problem. We'll take a quick second while you do that. And move on to the next person. I'm sorry, my brain is it's leaving. Fargrim, how do you handle big moments like character deaths or plot twists on stream?
I haven't yet to have a death on stream, or a actual character die. Not for lack of trying, obviously.
Yeah, you've tried.
You guys are only at session 9. There'll be
and you tried to
moment.
Throw a freaking something that was gonna one-hit me. It's like, seriously, dude?
Nothing will top Bone Daddy.
Bone Daddy?
I will say this before we continue much further. Fargrim, I know we were supposed to be done in an hour?
Yes.
We can wrap it up in 15 minutes if you'd like. And we can just say we can meet up again in July, if that works for everybody.
That works great for me. Because I do have to open the store tomorrow.
Yeah, you're looking a bit tired. All right.
Yep.
I'm fighting that shit as well. So I'll answer, and then we'll just find a time to do part 2.
That'll be good. Yeah, and I've got the questions where we left off as well.
Excellent.
Okay. Do you have any of the viewer questions saved in case we have time for those at the end? Perfect.
In our private chat, those are saved.
Beautiful.
All right, so to answer the last question of the evening, I have yet to deal with a streamable player death. Once I do, my players are very resourceful and very clever with RP and strategy, so I'm sure they'll take that and just blow it up as they do. As for twists, I haven't really thrown in a whole lot of twists and turns just yet. I've mostly done that with my detective group on Wednesdays, since they're solving they're solving a murder mystery surrounding NPC that they haven't met. Well, they haven't met in game, but they've met canonically through backstory, things like that. Her murder was the focus point of the story hook for that group. So there's a lot of twists and turns in her backstory that they just uncovered. So I guess to really answer the question, I haven't done it a whole lot since this campaign is very new. But when I plan to do it, I plan to blow some socks off. All right, I think that concludes DM Q&A number 4.
Did Logical get a chance to hit that one?
Oh, sorry. Logical.
Logical should have been the first one on that one, wasn't he?
Yeah, I was.
Okay, I was just making sure I couldn't
Yeah,
remember.
yeah, because I'm keeping, like I said, once I roll the die, I don't touch the die until we're done with the question.
Yeah, I can't see the die from the camera angle, so.
You answered.
No, I'm just saying, I'm just explaining why I wasn't sure.
Okay, but this was great, guys. Thank you for letting me host. Thank you for letting me hang out with you guys. I hope y'all have a
Thank
great
you for
night.
hosting.
Oh, not a
Thanks
problem.
for
I don't mind. I love helping out, and I'm there to help out you guys. If you guys need, shoot me a DM. Feel free to. And Fargrim can't get rid of me.
Goddamn right.
Tried.
Yeah, thank you guys. Honestly, Fargrim, thanks for organizing.
Yeah.
And honestly, it's awesome to meet all of you guys. I'll do my best to pop into streams where I can. I'm super busy, but I still manage to catch streams. And, I'll be there, I guess, for a couple of Fargrims, maybe.
Yeah, I'm in a very similar boat. You guys have been fantastic to get to know and talk with. I'm looking forward to getting to do part 2 of this with you guys whenever we can make schedules align. I know, as Teacup mentioned, it is the BBEG of D&D. It just is. Sometimes that can be hard to do, but I look forward to getting to the rest of these questions and doing it again with you guys.
Yes, I absolutely agree. I think that would be awesome.
Okay. So if anybody would like to suggest a person to raid out to, go for it. Let's send all the love their way.
Okay. I will actually be bringing it down after raid and then going back live here shortly with some Star Wars: The Old Republic, just so that I'm transparent there if people did want to stick around for that.
I have somebody who's pretty amazing. I've known them for about 5 years. They're a very much smaller streamer. They do mostly 8-bit games. But how do you guys feel about Legend of Zelda?
What do you think?
I know next to nothing about Zelda, but I was lurking in my roommate's randomized Zelda stream earlier, so.
But yeah, they're really great. They're very open to all communities. Amazing person, kind. Usually pretty good about chat. So I'm gonna put their link if you guys want to raid in our group chat.
Please.
Hell yeah. What's their name?
Oh, I messed it up. Dragon. It's actually I give up today. Here, I'm gonna put it in our chat. There, it's in the actual chat. But like I said, they're a great streamer. They're always friendly, always kind. I've never had an issue with him. Like I said, I've known him for like 5 years. They're still really small. But they're pretty fun to hang out with. I put it in the actual chat. Give me a second. I'm exhausted. My brain ain't working. There we go.
another.
All right, the rate is
dragon.
up on my end.
All right, like I said, thank you everybody out for making the time coming out. I'll probably drop a DM in our voice chat or our group message, whatever the fuck. Probably Saturday, just to see where everybody's at. Also, yeah, it's really a pleasure to meet all of you, and this is an amazing way to start awesome friendships by doing things like these. So thank you all again, everybody, for making the time.
Yeah, thanks for hosting.
You are welcome.
Thanks.
You guys are great DMs.
Thank you so much, man.
Thank you guys. Appreciate y'all putting up with my crap.
All good. All right. Well, I gotta pull down and get that turnaround going. So I appreciate y'all. Much love, peace, and I will catch you guys next time.
Okay, bye.
Bye.